evening, everyone. I'm Frank Novak, and this is Point of Reference. Tonight, we give you a brief introduction to each candidate running for office in the city of Haverhill, incumbent as well as newcomer, in an effort for you to get to know them a little better and help you decide who to vote for on Election Day, November 7th. We're very proud that almost 100% of the candidates took us up on our invitation to help you become a more informed voter. Talking right now with Colin LePage, who's finishing up his fourth term as a Haverhill City Councilor and is back for re-election. Welcome to the program, Colin.
Thanks, Frank. It's nice to be here.
You know, tell us, what do you think the biggest compelling thing that's facing the city of Haverhill right now is? And if after you tell us what it is, how are you going to handle it?
Oh, okay. Well, there's quite a few things going on at the city. I think the city's in great shape, but there's always improvements that could be made. We have some public safety issues going on. We've had some recent issues with gang violence. We've had some issues with drug overdoses and such. So we have a public safety issue that we need to address, and I believe that we somewhat addressed it in this year's city council budget with the mayor of adding more police officers. Now, that won't solve all the problems, but it's a start. It's a preventative thing to have police officers, more additional police officers. We have things with the schools as far as how they're going, not just what's happening inside the schools, which is, you know, the school committee domain, but I've ventured into that a little bit with adding money for health teachers and such that, you know, there's been deficiencies, but also the buildings. We just came through with the Hunking building, and I hope and think that everyone thinks that was a great project and that we have other aging infrastructure here that we need to address. So hopefully the folks are looking at that and said that was done and it was done well. Some of the problems that we have concerning buildings and all, the police station building and stuff, was things that weren't really well managed in the past. There was not good enough oversight on things. So we're now paying for those mistakes of doing things a little not being watched well and maybe for less couple of dollars, but they're costing us a lot more money now. So what I do as far as the city council budget and all, and all my councilors do this, but I spend an awful lot of time going through the budget looking to see if we're putting all the money to the right resources. So I like to look at it and say, okay, do we allocate everything that we should to those things? We have priorities and all, but we can't just say we have fixed costs and then we can't do something. Can we look outside of what we've been doing and challenge and say, okay, to do something better, we need to do it a little differently to do it better?
One of the big questions in previous city council elections, and it was a hallmark of some people's campaign, was the building and maintenance of the existing buildings in the city of Haverhill. And there's supposed to be a mechanism in place where there's a person that is, I'm not sure if you call them the clerk of the works or the manager of the commissioner of the buildings that the city of Haverhill happens to have under their umbrella. But sometimes it's not just a matter of recognizing what needs to be done, but do you have the money to be able to afford to go ahead and fix it? I recall one time in years past when a principal at that time at the Haverhill High School was saying, here I've got a leaky roof and now I need new textbooks for the students and I've only got X number of dollars in order to deal with this. Where do I make the expenditure? And he said, quite frankly, I'm buying the newer textbooks and the roof is going to get worse. How do you prioritize on something of that type? Because neither one is acceptable to let slide.
I think you have to have a conversation. So I don't know, in that example, if this person just unilaterally said, this is the decision and all, and that's what was done, there's other alternatives to do things. So to always say that you can't, at this moment, the city's in good position as far as reserves. We've built up a good amount of reserves. The time to do fixing is when things, not when they get broken, but prior to that. Like I said,
preventative maintenance?
The preventative maintenance. So the Hunking School is a good example. So when you say oversight, so they did things now with schools that you have what they call an owner's project manager. So they have some of the states going to say, if we're going to reimburse you and give you some money, we want to have a committee, we want to have people that are involved, and you're getting a whole bunch of folks talking about what's going to happen in that building, not just, you know, the building and the facilities to it and what the costs are in deciding things, but also we're going to have someone looking over that on your behalf for the city and also for the state, so things get done and they get done properly. There's not shortcuts that are done. Like I said, the police station building was a problem. The mayor and others said it was criminal what happened. That 20 years, the building basically needs to be done over. The Citizen Center, we did that one a few years ago, was the same thing. We have a lot of old, beautiful schools, but they're still standing, they're standing well, but a lot of the systems are out of date and what's to be done. So it's a matter of saying, what can you do? When you talk about finances, if you don't look at things a little differently, and I'm going to give the example of curbside recycling.
Yep.
we looked at recycling, I talked about it, and I campaigned on it when I first got on the council and said, we can save some money here. In the 5 years that we've had the program, we've saved over $1 million that we would normally have just paid for trash. It would have been a fixed cost. You wouldn't look in the budget. You would just say, okay, this is what it is. Oh, we don't have any more money. Like you said, I don't have the money for the textbooks and all. Well, you know what? We changed that mentality. We changed the habits of some folks. They recycle more. We save money. We use that money now for something else. And that's what I think needs to be done when you go looking through the transparency and looking through the budget and say, okay, what is really there? What do you really need to spend the money for? Give examples of why you need to spend this and what it's done, and go through. We just went through a capital budget last night, and I've been pressing to have a capital budget, which is basically maintenance and what's going to go on. If it's sidewalks, if it's streets, what is going to be repaired. If you just have it as a list and you don't actually act upon it and keep going back to it and checking off, things don't get done.
In the term of hindsight's always 20/20, during the course of the past term, are there any votes based upon new information that you may have now on subject matter that maybe you didn't have at the time that would cause you to rethink a vote that you may have taken?
I can't say I can think of any at the moment votes that I would retake over.
Okay.
I've been, there's been a couple of votes I think have been very important, and I think have propelled the city going forward.
Such as?
The first big vote I had was back with the meals tax. And I was reluctant to do that. I thought about it, what's going to be the impact and all. But after that, I feel much better about there's almost $1 million that comes back to the city. Now, the part of that is now, what does that money get allocated for? So that's where the question goes is, okay, so everyone who lives in the city who's going out, you know, something, if it's either at the Dunkin' Donuts, Honeydew, if it's down at the Barking Dog or any of these other places, they're paying it, but also we have people coming from outside the city. So this money should be invested back here. The unfortunate thing is it all goes to the general fund. So then people talk about, oh, you had this money here, where's it go to? Once it gets dumped in the general fund, it's just like a big stew of money. And then it's a matter of what you want to pick out and put it to things. So there's not really, unless it's an enterprise fund or an account, let's say for your water, everything goes into that account.
So you'd want to have distinctions and differences for that? We've got less than a minute left.
In some things. In some things, like I said, that might have been one when it was told to people, let's do this. What is that money, what is it going to be used for?
Okay.
What is, and that, I think, that was what happened with Hunking. What is the money going to be used for? Ask for this, we're going to have to do a debt exclusion and all, and now you see the process, you see the building and all, and everything is checked off and it's under budget and it's a beautiful building. So there is accountability, but we need to stay on top of it.
And you've been on the Administration and Finance Committee since you've been on the council, are you?
Since I've been on the council, and I've been the chair. It's been the last 4 years or possibly 6, I'm not sure.
Okay, well, as Chairman of Administrative and Finance, that means that you keep a sharpened pencil at all times, am I right?
I do.
Okay, thanks, Colin. That'll have to be the last word, but we appreciate you being here today. We wish you the best of luck on November 7th, the upcoming election.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Thank you. We'll be back with more. I hope that this program has been a point of reference for you, and until next time, my name is Frank Novak, and thanks very much for watching. And remember to vote on November 7th.